sorry you couldn't make it to our Labor Day cabin trip. I'm glad that your cat's doing okay right now.
Yeah. I just got to give him a bunch of drugs again.
I had a lot of fun. I got to take a really nice nap during that trip. That was pretty fun.
A whole nap?
You took a few naps.
Yeah, a couple naps. The big one was when everyone else left the house. There were a couple of us that stayed behind. We were there. There was no intention for any of us to interact with each other. It was just everyone basically sat in silence by themselves until there was like a really scary loud noise, and then we kind of rejoined and tried to figure out what the noise was. No one died though. That was good.
Are you talking about when we were? You talking about when we were away, when we were like?
Yeah, when you guys were gone, there was a like it sounded like someone was pounding on the front door or something, and then Sam comes up to me. He's like, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm awake, so I heard it." Because I was napping. It woke me up from my little nap, and it was Dan pounding on the bathroom door because that bathroom door sucked ass. So.
Oh, the door upstairs! You would like close it.
Bam, 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 bam to close it because he couldn't get it to close it. So
you would lock yourself in. It was like one of those. It would just get stuck like an old wooden door.
Yeah.
It was terrifying.
I have one very specific question. Did anyone go hiking?
We did a bit of exploration, like right when we got there. Did a little bit of a hike or something. You could call it a hike. We climbed up a gravel road and climbed back down.
I walked on the sandy beaches near the lake, and I worked out my calves. That was a hike of its own.
The wonderful beaches of northeastern Ohio. Very exciting.
Damn right, you got it. I saw many seagulls.
The
lake has only caught on fire maybe twice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad you can make it to our podcast. I did miss you at the cabin. There was other things that I missed, which was an event in the UK. Did you guys get to see any of the results at the Manchester event that happened over the weekend? Looks like there was 170 players total, which I believe is the largest event for this game has had. There might be one other event comparable.
Is that bigger than that like 8 Boba Fett top 8 deck? Like from
like original?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like
the one in
Poland. Bam, stacked for the best leader in the game. It was ridiculous.
That might have been the Poland event or the one prior to it, but the Poland event was the bigger one early on.
That was crazy. But yeah, there were just quite a bit of representation among that top 8. It was probably the most surprising thing was the lack of Kira that made the cut. I think.
There was a decent amount of Kira that showed up. But yeah, they it's a hard deck to pilot. You have to put like a bunch of hours into making your opponents, your friends, run their head against the wall, playing against it. So
those dudes that played
it's quite fun.
Really cleaned up though. There were a couple guys that did pretty well with the deck that eats Kira, so it makes sense. It probably explains the lack in the top 8, and those guys knew what they were doing. So it's nice to see.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
I like to see how many of the Kira players had to verse some of the larger like Palp and Vader decks that showed up.
Yeah, very curious with the average like game time of those Kira players. Like how many of them had to pee for an extended period of time and just didn't get to go for several rounds.
So much pee left in those bladders. Oh,
we were briefly talking about what the meta would kind of look like around this time, and I was kind of talking about like what would be the game plan. There'd be people afraid to play Boba. You would expect a lot of Sabines to come out, but I think we briefly talked about that. You should actually just be trying to go over Kira right now. It's not really the time to be repping Sabine, in my opinion. I would kind of expect that to show up.
It's kind of tough because like the Sabine deck is so cheap, and a lot of players are just gonna like have a Sabine deck to get their friend to play in the tournament, and you can see that like there was almost 20% of the field with Sabine at that tournament, so it makes a lot of sense.
It's always going to happen, but in terms of it actually sticking the landing, I expect it to come out a little better.
A lot of those Sabine decks got eat it up. Yeah. Had like a decent overall win rate. There's like only one copy in top 8, I think. So it's kind of neat.
I think the issue with that as well is like the whole rock paper scissors with the current meta being like Boba, Kira, and Palp all kind of do fairly well against Sabine as well. Palp probably being the worst, but the other two do very well. So it's kind of like in a weird middle situation where it can win some games, but it also can lose a lot of those like more midi games.
Do we have the results that we can put up and look at some of those Palp lists to start? What do you guys think about Palp in general right now? I think originally I thought that Palp was gonna be like a rotational type leader, not always to be something to expect. But I feel like he's kind of shown up more consistently, especially in set 2.
It's like a great call, I think, especially based on like the recent popularity and how people don't stop talking about how good Kira is. If you're like, you know, kind of expecting that kind of metagame, like what was the percentage of Kira at this tournament? Let me real quick. Kira was 10%, so the Palp was a much smaller representation of the field and was able to figure out, I guess, how to shore up some of those tough matchups and crush folks. I don't know. I think it's just like a good way to take your control decks because you're not playing as many of the, you know, bridge cards. You're going over the top pretty quickly and pays off a lot.
Do you think it's more of like a meta call still, or do you think that Palp has more of like a safe shell now where it can kind of show up on top 8s no matter what?
I think like the way the fella built his Palp list, the blue-green Palp, was very similar to how the Kira decks are being built, but just kind of going way over. And you have that like the ability to have like that looming threat of the Palp flip, and like he really leaned into it with all his laser blasts. So he just like, you know, you kind of have to play like the fiddly game as Kira in that matchup where you don't want to like commit a damaged unit at any point, and it's tough for you to like navigate to the position. But having all the blasts and all of the like bridge cards like Vigilance and Make an Opening help like extend into that late point in the game where you can start producing threats like the Walkers and Snokes and Avengers and all that, and just not having to worry about all theirs with all your blasts and various removal spells is, I don't know. I think even like in the smaller matchups, having the power of the Royal Guard and all the ramp spells, they make a pretty big difference, and I think it puts the deck in more of a like competitive position than like a fringe metagame choice.
Was there a blue Palp in the top 8?
Yeah, it was it was an 8-3 record deck. It was played by Howard Williams, a British person. Yeah. Can you believe that most of the Palp lists were not blue? There's a lot of green Palp, a lot of interesting ways to go about the deck. This guy just kind of honed in, built a standard looking blue-green control deck, and just had the threat of a leader that takes their finishers, basically. Pretty exciting.
I think I like that they just went for the full 0 overwhelming barrage. I think that's a good thing to just.
Oh yeah, that's clean as hell.
Try.
Mostly you're like units in that deck that just sit and play don't really get big enough to kill enough stuff. Like your Royal Guards aren't, most of the time they're just gonna die before you get to do your overwhelming barrage, and that's like your biggest early game unit that you have access to.
Yeah, like, usually kill something small, but it doesn't really finish off like the wing leader buffed units. And
no, you're just basically just killing the wing leader buffed unit and having 5-6 in play for a minute, or 5-7 in play for a minute.
Yeah, if you're lucky, if you have a 3-power unit on the board.
Yeah, and that, the way his deck's built's really not to worry about something like that. Yeah, he's got a lot of life gain, which I like.
I think the Entrenched is going to start showing up more, even in these blue-green villain shells. I think Kira will probably start playing it more.
It's a clean answer to Fire Spray, which the deck, like the straight green Palp, has a pretty hard time answering those kinds of threats, like the space plans out of Boba Fett decks, and even like the Sabine space rush strategies. You've only got like the Black Sun Starfighter and some Inferno 4s. This guy has a 2-3 split of those, and they're not getting ambushed out, so it's kind of hard to take advantage of that. Having a couple of Entrenched is pretty huge for stuff like that.
It also really helps with the triple, or not the triple dark raid, but the TIE fighter that can't die by being
the TIE Phantom.
TIE Phantom, yeah, because like that's hard to deal with.
The traitoresses in this deck were something we were talking about this weekend when we were testing the Kira Boba matchup. It's like having access to Traitorous in your list against something like that makes a huge difference. Like kills their threat and gives you access to, you can turn kind of the threat you steal into another way to kill one of their other guys. So goes a long way.
If you're not playing Barrages, if you're not playing Barrages, you don't have something ECL on 5. I would hope that if you're ramping to 5, you would have Traitorous, right? Like, it's not always going to be the best play, but it's a power play to ramp into, and it'll get people.
Keep you alive. It's the important thing. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, it's pretty solid looking blue-green control deck that just has the control mirror edge of having Palpatine as your leader. I think it was a great choice. That guy did a great job.
Last thing I want to say about this kind of show in particular is I've been really impressed with Zelda Dragon, like more and more. It's I don't really know. It's a good card, but it's just better than I ever expected it to be. It really matters.
It's not a niche sideboard card. It's like actually one of the premier removal spells that you want to put in your deck.
It shines in these decks like Palp and even Boba, where you really value getting that extra resource. So something that costs only 4 mana to remove, and you have something else to do over the rest of your turn is huge. Salacious Crumb is like really overperforming these top 8 lists. It showed up in all the Palp lists, I believe. Showed up in the winning list, the Boba Green list. We've not spent a lot of time on that card as a group in our playtesting, but these top 8 players seem to really like it.
None of us have really played Palp, but I think like in a Palp deck is the only time you really can play that card currently.
I don't know, unless you're playing it in your Boba Fett deck.
Exactly.
Collecting some bounties with Salacious Crumb, the obnoxious pet.
Well, I listened to...
list was pretty wild.
Yeah,
the first place list.
Was his name Josh?
Yes, his name was Joshua Freeman Birch. He played a Boba Fett deck with way too many cards in his deck, but turns out if you put a bunch of powerful yellow cards in your deck, it doesn't matter how many of them are in there, you're probably still going to win. So it looked pretty good. I just don't know what I would take out of this deck. Maybe that was probably the same problem he was having. He just had his binder box full of Boba Fett cards and picked all the good ones.
I listened to his interview today. He was interviewed by another guy named Josh. Don't remember the person's channel, but I will put it.
Josh Inception.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll put his channel in the description. But he actually had a plan for all the cards. It wasn't, he had a solid plan that he was able to practice with every package, including all the upgrades in the deck.
Yeah.
The entire Cobb Vamp package, which takes up a lot of real estate in your deck when you're playing Cobb Vamp.
But it's a thing. So a thing they've done in other TCGs before is playing larger deck size to not draw your cards that you want to tutor into. So maybe that's part of his thinking with Cobb Vanth. You don't really want to draw some of these cards, like Patrolling V-Wing is probably not a tremendous draw, but having access to it off Cobb, you're going to draw it less often and find it when you need to search it out. So stuff like that comes up with a larger deck size.
He talked about how amazing Crumb was at Salacious Crumb at delaying actions in the deck and letting him pick the lane or play that was going to be most valuable for him. I think a good example is do you want to play Fire Spray or do you want to play Darth Vader or even Maul? If you try to close the game, one is better than the other. You just need to know where they're investing.
Yeah. Helps sleuth it out a little bit based on their action. You don't have to pass, not do anything. Get a little bit of value out of your turns.
Yeah, so specifically that card, I think honestly the biggest value he notated was that it is the action economy on it, or lack thereof. I mean, it gives him additional actions.
Just the action stalling passing thing that you just get to do. It makes sense that he has McClunky in his deck because he's playing a grindier controlling version. You have a lot of really good underworlds that you want to bounce in this list, the Crumbs and Bazines and stuff in your deck. So makes sense. The guy's list is good. The Fellow Dragon makes sense because people just choose to do that now. Takes out Crate Dragons and
if you want your game to go long, you want to pay 6 to kill.
You want
to pay 6 to kill a giant capital ship.
Did he talk about the choose sides at all?
No, I believe he did. I don't recall his answer for that. But, he's playing 1 mana units that are pretty ineffective in the late game.
Mm-hmm. I wonder your opponent a patrolling V-Wing in exchange for their guy. So
I wonder if it works out for him. Like if he ever got to use that sideboard plan.
Well, he had 3, so he really meant business with it. So that's pretty cool.
Well, you can also use it against the opposing Palp decks. When they take your thing, you can take something back.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, I think it's a cool deck. I think that like a grindier Boba deck is still going to be good. I think that getting the value out of the untap in that way is pretty great.
Yeah, there's a Han deck in this top 8, but that doesn't make any sense to me. The Ray deck's pretty cool. I really liked his take on Yellow Ray. That was something that I thought was pretty interesting to take to an event of this size. But dude, really,
the Ray deck is a yellow deck, and it looks sick.
Yeah, it just really shows how powerful the yellow cards are.
I would like to see this eventually.
Yeah, they're playing more like an aggro main deck with a bunch of evasive units with shields that you can easily power up. Putting all the Sentinels in the sideboard, and the 3-cost Sentinels we got from set 2.
I think this is the first time I've ever seen Chopper in a deck list, and it didn't make me want to throw up. So, good work. I really like that. Like being able to buff it with Ray is like actually a good turn 1 play. Like your unit's pretty big, and just kind of I guess has upside.
When I first started playing this game, I was terrified of Chopper because I got bricked by it. My opponent used it sometimes.
Saw that card in the spoiler. I was all in.
Yeah.
You mean I can tap one of their resources for basically no cost on my gigantic health unit? Like let's go. But it turns out that card's not very good. So
Artesia though, still good.
Yeah.
Still good.
So,
but overall, I think it's pretty exciting to see some of these newer decks and/or brews and shells. I mean, there's a lot of innovation in this tournament. I think that's super exciting.
I think the real story of the tournament is there was a gentleman named James Parkinson that showed up with mono red IG-88, and he did not get last place in the tournament. So I think this gentleman needs a round of applause. He went 4-4 with mono red IG-88. So it was excellent performance from this soldier. So.
Yeah, I'm proud of him.
Oh yeah, his deck actually doesn't even look that bad. He's got the infiltrator. He's got some infiltrator skills in his list that probably make it. It's at the give your guy Saboteur, like an upgrade +1/+1 Saboteur, I think. Just very low to the ground. He's playing Ruthless Raider, which is an actually good card. Bunch of pretty neat stuff. I'm confident no one else has covered this mono red IG-88 list, but I saw that it had a even record, and it made me really excited because that's often talked about as the worst leader in the game. So
hopefully you can get it in the wheel pool and try your own IG-88.
I don't think I'll be doing that, but I'm really happy for this guy. He had a 50% win rate with IG-88. Better than the Grand Inquisitor performance in the room. So excellent work.
The real bot in the Discord is me spamming you guys in the general chat.
That's true.
That's true.
Like, oh my god, did you see this card? I can't believe as soon as my phone goes off and I get a notification that there's a new spoiler out, I'm just eagerly awaiting one of us to start talking about it. So do you wanna kick us off with the first one?
What do you want to start with?
Hey, it's just Obi-Wan.
I think it's a good idea to work backwards, start with today. We've got a new leader. First leader in the set that's not in the starter. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Give it a read.
Looks like this guy is Vigilance Heroism. He's front half ability is an action to tap him and heal 1 damage from a unit. He flips on 6 resources as a 4/7, and he's got Sentinel. He's a Force Jedi and Republic tag. And on attack, he heals 1 damage from a unit, and if he does, you'll deal 1 damage to another unit. It has to be a different unit.
That's have to be a different unit.
Anthony, what do you think about this card?
This card is very okay. We've determined that like with Rey in the current meta, again, I need to see more support for this card, but currently it's just very okay. I can continue going down this rabbit hole.
Give us an expansion of your thoughts.
So
what we pay you for.
Yeah, so much money. So like the 4/7 Sentinel, cool. It may delay your opponent from killing you for a bit, but like with the current top end of blue, green, heroic, like what beatdowns are you playing to win against a Boba Yellow? What are you playing to beat against the control decks that weren't like that are different comparatively to like playing like Rey? Like, are you still playing Crate Dragon in this thing? Are you trying to kill them before that? If you're trying to kill them before that,
I think you're just going blue green and playing 2 Obi-Wans on the 6 resource turn. That sounds insane. That's like a million
Obi and a young Obi.
Yeah, you just play 2 Obi-Wans on one turn, and you're definitely going to untap and put a Luke into play the next turn. Like, that's kind of a ridiculous amount of Sentinel to have access to on the 6 resource turn. And like if you're ramping with the resupply, or even if you have to play some goofball card like Spark of Hope, just to get to that 6 resource turn on the same turn they flip their Boba Fett's or their Kira or anything like that, just like that's so much Sentinel in play on one turn. And like you could even Obi-Wan plus Vigilance on the same turn. It's I don't know. It feels like it really does a great job in stabilizing you into those like later turns where you can play your Lukes, your home ones, and really get ahead. Even like other color configurations.
U-Wing, I guess.
Seem too bad. U-Wing, another one that helps you find your. It's more copies of Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan. I don't know. I'm pretty impressed by this as like a early leader spoiler. I think it's probably better than most of the ones we already have access to. Like in that color combination, you have like Luke and Rey that directly are competing with it on that like 6-7 resource.
I'll say right now, this is a more impactful leader than both Luke and Rey. And
yeah, for sure.
And I'll grant that the front leader ability is not as exciting as those 2 leaders, but his flip is so much more impactful that it makes me more excited to play.
Yeah, Sentinel.
He's
a set that that's immediate impact that doesn't get countered by no good to me dead like the other 2.
Yeah,
and
you can't no good it. You can't cunning this Sentinel back to their hand. Like you can't waylay it back to their hand. It's a 4/7, so it's kind of awkward to kill with a bunch of the removal. He's huge.
Like the only cards that really deal with that right now are like Rival's Fall and the Sentinel Deleter from Sabine. I can't remember the name of the card.
And then besides obviously Power Up the Dark Side as well.
That'll do it too.
I mean, you're probably not raw dogging this into a Power of the Dark Side deck. I feel like most of the time you're going to have something else in play that matters.
Well, you're not pressured enough to feel like you need to do that against those decks.
How badly do you need to flip your Obi-Wan before they flip their Kira? Like, I don't know.
Think about all the times that you've had to flip Rey and you die the action before you can even attack with her.
Jillian heals 3. This guy has 7 health. It's so much. This card's crazy.
Yeah, I think like the Palpatine decks are going to eat this guy up. I think even the Kiras are probably going to eat this guy up still. He might like be fine against Boba Yellow, but like on turn 6 I'm playing Fire Spray and I'm killing you.
These like blue and green heroic decks can really grind. You have a lot of tools if you actually choose to build your deck like in this way to battle Fire Sprays. So
I mean,
they have like a lot of the Sentinels and like
you don't have to commit the 6-mana unit Obi-Wan before you flip this either. You have like a bunch of removal spells in your deck to deal with the space units, and this just like shores up the ground for that turn. Assuming you're.
And I think with the event that they spoiled alongside him, you can use that alongside like Bright Hopes. So you can save your Bright Hopes like for the Fire Sprays, and you can actually just delete the 7 Fleet Defenders. I mean, notice I'm talking about yellow space units, but I think that those around this 6 resource turn, like that's when you get got by these units because they like invested in space and you never dealt with them.
I would also be interested to see how like Tarkin does against this. So if Tarkin's super space and like
that takes garbage, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's a solid B tier deck like this will be.
I mean,
I think it's right. We haven't seen a more compelling blue heroic leader to like actually do the things that mirrors the green villain blue decks. I think this does
you won me over a bit more.
Yeah,
I'm still pretty skeptical, but you won me a little bit more.
You were comparing to Chewbacca before we started recording, so
it's 2 stats difference.
And it flips a turn before, which matters so much.
It does matter.
The thing about Chewbacca is his leader ability is way more impactful, at least in theory so far.
Yeah, especially if you're trying to stall and get to the late game, like you play a bunch of small guys to get there later. I have a quick question though. Does Spark of Hope work? It wouldn't work with the tokens, right? That's No. I didn't think so.
We'll have a lot to say about Spark of Hope later in the podcast, so don't you worry.
So let's take a look at some of the cards that were spoiled alongside him real quick. We had a great card. I want to start with Hello There, obviously.
Hello there.
Hello there.
That is a 3-cost event, the Vigilance Heroism. It's a trick. And you choose a unit that entered play this phase. It gets a -4 for this phase.
Kind of awesome that this card against a Fire Spray, if they attack into your Bright Hope, you just get to kill it after.
This card's amazing.
Yeah. This card's
I think that it can be inconvenient to sequence it, but you get to build your deck in a way that's more reactive now with more redundant cards like this. I think previously in the past 2 sets, when you're playing a Vigilance Heroism, you kind of have to stick a unit, try to get initiative, or like you're like, more playing to the board. But if you get more cards like this, you can kind of be okay not having initiative. They'll play a unit, snap it off. I mean, they might attack you, but you got to figure out how to dirtle a little more in action or
the ability to tap your leader to heal a unit for 1 kind of.
I think that'll help. Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you would use the Shrewd ability to give your I+O+2, so just like action path a turn.
So yeah, but this kind of thing is better for a control deck that wants to get value out of a card like this.
Yeah.
You can still also attack into their guy if you want and use the ability still if they're like have a 3/5 or something ridiculous that you can't kill. Like, I don't know, a Vader. That helps with that too. Yeah. If they didn't ambush into anything.
I wonder if this card will be as ubiquitous as Power of the Dark Side.
I think there's a lot of spots where it does a similar thing, but it's not as
Doesn't it scale as well, which is unfortunate because Power of the Dark Side scales really well.
It's also not as easy to use. You can't claim Power of the Dark. You can't play this card like you can.
Yeah.
Dark Side.
And like this is like not as good post Super Laser Blast. Like you can't play Super Laser Blast in these decks, so you kind of have to, jimmy around.
Power of the Dark Side
little guys
cannot beat the new yellow villain card. I cannot. Phantom,
TIE Phantom. This actually kills TIE Phantom.
So let's kill TIE Phantom.
Gives you 6 ways at least to kill TIE Phantoms out of a deck like this, but you're playing Bright Hopes in your decks probably, so
you're probably also ECLing
blue control decks. Yeah,
I think this card is really sick as like a bullet to certain leaders, but I just don't know that a lot of those leaders are very scary right now, other than Kira.
Yeah, it's pretty dope against the Kira flip.
Do you
Fogs of Boba Fett, which is nice.
Do you think before, because they would have made this card a while ago, probably, assumedly, but they made the change beginning of set 2 that leaders entered play, right?
Yeah.
So beforehand, this didn't target leaders when that didn't exist that way.
Now it does.
I assume with the way they like to design the sets, they changed that internally, like pretty early. So, but they wanted to give us the game as it was the first set. So I'd imagine this was tested with the current rules. So
hopefully.
All right. So let's take a look at the last there's 2 other Obi-Wan cards we get to see his spaceship.
Oh, this card, both those two cards were based, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Oh yeah.
For our base or waste.
I agree. Both cards are based.
Yeah, both are based.
To Obi-Wan. Are we going with the ship next?
Yeah, yeah.
What does this card even do? I don't even know.
Nothing relevant.
That's a 5 cost 4/6 in space. It's when played and on attack, you can deal 1 damage to this unit and 2 damage to another space unit. Also notably has the Jedi tag on a spaceship, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's weird.
Yes, but you can't give it a lightsaber though.
No, not yet.
No, non-vehicle.
Non-vehicle. Also, doesn't come in readied when you have Obi-Wan, which is waste enough for me.
Well,
pretty good.
The card kills a fire spray. If you're playing really slow, it kills a fire spray and lives. They're gonna bounce it with cunning, but you know.
Doesn't
you
Sentinel.
can ECL it, I guess.
It's kind of a bummer. But it
what happens if you ECL it? What's the best value?
It's when played and on attack, so you get 4 damage on a thing.
That's pretty sick.
Two different things too.
So you can ECL this into killing fire spray.
And maybe like one other thing.
But like I don't think you're gonna put this card in your deck. It's like
I think I agree. You have to play.
It's an ambushless Marauder. It's like very similar, fighting for similar space in your decks. Like that card actually has ambush. You don't have to.
I would play 3 Bright Hopes before I play either of those cards.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Waste. Next card.
Agreed. Waste. I want to like that card.
Yeah, it's cool though. It says Obi-Wan on it, so that's another Obi-Wan card.
It also says Sprite on it.
That's true.
We're gonna get a rare base once per week, spoiled to us from here on out. Today we got a cutting base.
So this base is a Geonosis base. It's titled Petranaki Arena. Each leader unit you control gets +1/+0. And it's a 26 HP base.
It's nice you guys pointed out earlier that this isn't like an epic action thing. You have to like figure out how to do it. It's just kind of like a static ability that always applies to your leader. So you look at like bases, our leaders you want to pair with a yellow base. Like this is kind of a decent option for.
Chewbacca's a 4/9.
Okay, Mr. Chewbacca enjoyer.
Okay, so here's where I'm currently at on it. I think that in general, the 2 points of damage you're gonna get from like attacking twice with your leader, which would be like the most you would get out of most games. You're gonna win most of the games where you went base as an aggro deck, anyways. In that spot, currently what I think. I think the actual value from this base is probably going to be from like the random math changes that come out it. Like when your opponent's trying to trade in your leader, or you're trying to play you're trying to make some sort of trade with your
real
leader.
Quick, I was laughing how you can't play with this with Kira, because not Kira, with Rey, because then you just can't buff Rey after that, because she's a 3/6. I was just like, that's so stupid.
Very brutal for Rey.
Yeah.
But at least you get to play Obi-Wan now instead. So a 5/7 Sentinel's pretty crazy if you're playing the blue-yellow strategy there.
I would say like in those matches, where you like against Sabine, for example, who I would see wanting to play something like this. The Sabine player, if they get to attack twice with their Sabine, they're pretty favored in that match.
Yeah.
I don't know that the 2 extra damage really makes
it helps close out. So a lot of the time you're like a couple damage away, and from the aggro side that it can really matter against the stickier control decks, and having the 3 power leader where they're trying to trade 3 health guys into your leader is pretty impactful. I think the same thing with Boba Fett. A lot of time they try and trade like a Kanan and something else into it, and they like get to keep their Kanan, and they get to keep a damaged other unit. Trades with when you blue Han or when you use the red Han to put a Luke into play, it's what a 5/7 the 5 health leader or unit.
Yeah.
So
would you mostly agree?
A lot of the time. I think
totally agree. It's about trading and more than it is about like a burn spell on a base.
I mean, the upside is you get to push damage, but it makes it like less dudes stick around to trade with your other guys when they're worried about trading with your leader, which I think matters a lot. It doesn't matter really against Kira. Most of the time, you flip your Boba Fett and get a damage, like get the 4 damage in, you get an extra damage, but that's not going to make a difference a lot of the time. The -4 health doesn't matter at all against that matchup, so you might as well just play the base that does 1 extra damage for that at least. But kind of more going to be architectural based on like how the aggro decks are actually looking. But if they're ever going to trade with your leader, I think you want to play something like this.
Yeah, it could really depend on what you're expecting at a tournament. If you think someone's trying to, what the numbers are, like if you really need to trade against certain leaders.
It's hard to compare because like all the other rare bases we have are pretty horrible outside of Tarkin Town and ECO. Like there's like a good one, and then the one that's like defensible to play, and then all the other rare bases are unplayable. So this kind of adds another layer into that, like probably around like the Tarkin Town range of acceptable bases to play.
It feels more like a decision than Jeddah City for sure.
Yeah. Jeddah City is not choice. This is like something that you actually want to consider.
But I will say that I've been so impressed by 30 health bases.
Yeah, I mean this is still 26 health. It's only
4 less. One more health. Yeah,
4 less is a lot. That's for a cause I believe in. Or like
cause I believe in. Often a cause I believe in is what kills you. So
also the average impactful unit has like 4 power in my opinion. Like
those like mid game threat units have 4 and 5 power. Like if you look at like Ruthless Raider, play that 4/6 that does a bunch of damage, and like the extra 4 health's pretty noticeable against decks like that.
But if you play Twin Suns, which I don't know how to play, but if you do, this is coded for that. Just so good for that.
For sure.
It does have Twin Suns text.
Yeah.
However that works.
Each leader.
There were
not your leader. Each leader.
I believe there are 2 others I want to quickly talk about. There's Plo Koon.
It's definitely no Zuckuss, but
definitely no Zuckuss.
Comparably sized.
You can give it lightsabers, which is cool. We haven't made those great yet, but yeah, it might be nice to have a potential 6, 6+ guy.
He'll be really impactful in those decks that want to play him. I think that he's not like a build around card. He's a nice.
You can at least put like emphasis.
It's a solid role player. It's a base card of the 2 choices.
I think it's base. I agree. It's base.
Yeah. You can like pair with Emphas Nest, which is kind of cool to make it.
I'm not putting Emphas Nest in my constructed deck after set 3. It's ridiculous. Don't ever say something like that to me again. Yeah, that's the most ridiculous.
It might get better.
Shut up. Move on to the next card. That was ridiculous. Dude brings up Emphas Nest like he's going to play it again. Any Emphas Nest lovers, comment below that you love Emphas Nest, and I'll make fun of you through the Base Chopper account.
You'll never know which one's which. Which one of us is Base Chopper.
It could be Anthony, but it will not be.
Speaking of Emphas Nest,
it'll be Austin.
Speaking of Emphas Nest, there was one last spoiler, totally unrelated to Emphas Nest, which was...
It's basically Emphas Nest. You do want to ambush it.
Yeah, this is a great ambush target.
We were talking about green Obi-Wan decks earlier, so I think this kind of card fits alongside that pretty well.
Shock T, a 4-cost 3/4 Force Jedi Republic. Each friendly token unit gets +1/+0, and on attack create a clone trooper token via 2/2.
I look at this very much as I look at Hearthstone's +1/+0s usually, where I'm like, I want to have a bunch of tokens, and I want to play this and then hit you in the face with those tokens for an extra damage. So we go from 3 2/2s to going from 6 to 9.
Yeah, I'm more trying to get a little bit of value out of this guy, and maybe my Shock T will live after I ambush it, and I'll get to clean up with a couple little tokens to clear the board. The +1/+0 feels like it's just upside that you might get. I think you mainly just want to play it to put it in play, kill a guy, and then get a little guy left behind. I think it's good.
I mean, it's a versatile card. Versatile card. You can play it without ECL if you're running a token deck, and it'll pump them all, like Anthony said. But also,
you can also run timely. That way you can
have your ECL when you get to attack. When you get to attack with it, it leaves behind a guy usually, and that's amazing.
What's the unit? What are the units that like these blue green control decks have in play on turn, like the turn before this, the turn before the resource turn? They put in
Yoda.
Like the villain decks. What are they putting in play the turn before you shock T? Like, so if you have initiative to shock T, what is their board gonna look like? They're probably gonna have like the Toro Pike Sentinel.
Oh, we're talking about villain blue.
Yeah, like the villain blue control deck. What's this gonna look like against those decks?
The 3/3 Sentinel that gets experience. That one would be there.
Yeah, that's very nice.
That lines up very well for us if you're playing.
They could have like a Death Trooper in play that has some damage on it. Kind of nice to have like it may like kind of makes your ECL live early, which is nice. To play a guy, put some couple bodies in play, get one of their defensive units off the board. It seems like a great tool to have access to.
Gonna have a 3/3 usually, I would say.
Yeah. She seems really amazing as a 3 of 2. Like not like a splashable 1 of, but like she'll draw that removal.
This is something I want to be doing.
Yeah, and then you just top deck another one, play it, pump.
If they don't kill her, you're just gonna keep making guys. So I don't think it's what you expect, but it's like a thing that you can use to take over. You can get a couple clone troopers out of her if you're really getting lucky. But I think it's based. Great card.
Yeah, it's based.
I would agree, especially because if you have the the Obi-Wan, you could Sentinel and shield it for a bit, or you could shield it with Luke as well.
So, I also wanted to mention that they just spoiled some package design, which is notable because all package design so far has had leaders on it. So for some of the packs, we now get to anticipate 3 leaders. There's Yoda, Asajj Ventress, and Commander Cody, it looks like. So it's pretty exciting. I did not expect Asajj Ventress as a leader in this set.
I've been talking about Commander Cody as a leader since they announced the set. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Such a bad green.
Unit. Oh yeah, they're going to continue their trend of making unplayable green leaders. So this will really fit in with that.
Heroic ones specifically.
Yeah. Heroic green leaders are not particularly good, but this one could be a sweet one.
I'm excited.
What do we think Yoda's going to be then?
I was kind of
joking.
I was joking that Yoda would be green. It'd be funny.
I was expecting him to be blue, but he is a green man. So
he's a green man. I mean, the art kind of makes him look more generally like more action.
He looks like a warrior.
Yeah.
Is there 2 leaders per color combo?
Yeah, 2 for each side, like 2 light side, 2 dark side for each color.
Okay.
At least so far, they might throw us for a loop, but
they could, Because Cody and Yoda could both be green, or one of them could not be green.
Yeah.
Cool. But looking forward to seeing that one. So last podcast, we actually decided to end it with spinning the wheel and showing what decks that we were going to take to our local shop, which we did.
Anthony. We had some mighty fine performances at the Pack Rat this week. We did pretty good with our awful decks. We convinced a couple other of us to play some loose decks as well, like some of our buddies locally. But I think this week we're really going to see a motley crew of leaders pop up. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Go over yours first, Anthony.
Oh yeah, I can go over mine first.
Yeah, pop it over.
All right, so yeah, I built what I like to call Hondo trash. I had the extra bit that I was not allowed to play Hondo yellow.
Hondo blue.
Blue. Thank you. I played Hondo yellow.
Deck. You can't play another deck.
I can't play his deck. So instead, I played this beautiful piece, which is just Tarkin, but with some smuggle cards. I added and Greedo, because Greedo's just good. So I added Greedo. 3 of those. I added the 3 blasters, and I added that 3 2/2 smuggle ship, so I could get some extra value off of it. And I went 3-1, and I went all the way to the finals, including beating Bobby's deck.
We played in round 3, and I was pretty stoked on my deck too. So it was a little heartbreaking to lose to Anthony's pile of garbage. So
Blaster's just too good, and I get experience off it too.
Like you got the triple Dark Raiden to play the big overwhelm ground vehicle against me, and I just didn't have the tools in my deck to compete with something like that. So it was pretty sweet. You had a fun deck.
It was fun.
Not the most creative strategy I've ever seen. It's literally just a Tarkin yellow deck plus, some
blasters.
Cards, so
blasters are shitty. How dare you? I shot you and a bunch of other people in the face, and it got the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly.
This is a Tarkin.
I didn't lose the mirror.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I see the barrage. At first, I did not see it.
I lost only to Tarkin Yellow.
Yeah, you played against Tarkin Yellow in the finals. Pretty poetic ending to your tournament on the Friday night. So.
That's funny.
I knew sideboard because I was not sideboarding anything. I did not care. Everything was good enough, and it got me there.
Really leaned into the deck building exercise here. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm not a great deck builder.
Is there anything that you would change after your performance, Anthony?
I would change the leader.
You would cut all of the smuggle cards and change your leader.
Change the leader. The funny thing is, like, I would. This made me want to maybe keep blasters in the Tarkin deck. I'm just like, blasters so good. It's just so good. It's just hard with like. I tried originally making something that just had way more smuggle cards, and they're all just real bad. There's a lot of them that aren't like. I had the. There's too many tribes to get into with smuggle. There was a bunch of underworld stuff, but then I wanted the imperial stuff, but then I wanted this. So it was a lot of too much and not enough of everything to really make a cohesive part. So I instead decided to dissect someone else's and revamp it to my own needs. And it worked much better.
A smuggle strategy without playing the blue smuggle cards. But
dude, the ship is so bad.
We did good, yeah. What do we? Which deck do we have next?
Yeah, who's up next?
Whoever wants to go first.
You popped one up. Yeah, let's go.
My deck was the Mandalorian, and I decided to play green with him, as I hinted at, I believe, last week. I told you guys I would play Cunning, but decided that I would go green. So I ended not 3-1 like my pals here. I ended 2-2, and I would say that overall, it's got some fun things going on. I think the highlight of my experience was playing Ezra, the unit. That was the most fun and impactful card I played the entire night. I think that while the Han unit bailed me out of some games, my suspicion that Home 1 would not be a great strategy for this deck did end up being mostly true. I do think I wish I played more mid-range, a little lower to the ground. And the one last change I would probably make is I would just take out some of the space interaction that I currently have, like the Marauders, and just put in I would find space for 3 Bright Hopes in the main deck. My
how was Cobb Vanth?
That card was good. Yeah. There were there were times that I had to ECL against other aggro decks or other faster decks with that card. But I mean, the stuff I'm pulling with him is mostly I was just value units to stick upgrades on. It wasn't anything super hot, It wasn't. So,
how about your one-off Leia and Tech, which are very interesting to me? That you have
Leia was great. I found her twice with Cobb Vanth, and it won me those games.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I will say that there was some weird tension between wanting to play tempo, but playing that waylay collect bounty card. It was trying to set up all these weird things to get a better board presence with like Bounty Hunters, Corey. Yeah, spare the target. So there was like a lot of weird tension in this deck for sure. Oh, the best I forgot the actual best play. So like Ezra, favorite card, but the thing that like really was like my crutch of the deck was ECO with the new card from the set, General. I can't remember his last name, but he's the 5-cost 5/7, I believe.
That guy's big.
That guy was the crutch of my entire deck. ECL in him was huge, and I would suggest a lot more people to try that out in other ECL heroic decks. Great.
I'm pretty sure he's try some of that in my goofball deck I played. What about your sideboard? What was going on there?
One last thing about the main deck is like from my experience playing this deck and other decks, I just don't enjoy playing the Millennium Falcon as a card. I don't know. It doesn't fit my play style. I feel like it usually makes me play in some sort of negative way. Like I don't feel like I'm dealing enough damage. I don't think I'm making the best trades. I feel like I lose tempo most times I play it. So it's not a fun card for me to play. It was hard, but I like wanted to pick it off of Bounty Hunters Corey sometimes to stick. It did work sometimes. The sideboard, I think what's up?
Oh, it's really hard. Millennium Falcon is like really hard, in my opinion, to not like to play in something like that isn't Han set 1. Because you specifically are getting that mana back, by like sacking one that's tapped for it. Or not caring because you're playing aggro, so you're just going fast with like a Sabine. Like
also,
in these mid-range stuff.
Bouncing it back to your hand in that deck is kind of good because you're desperate for cards to slam as resources from your hand.
Yeah. So like, as well as like it doesn't really fit your mid-range either for that like a lot because you like want your guy to stay and you're not like aggro enough that the 3 extra attack really matters when you're playing it, which is weird for that. And then like you're just kind of sitting in this awkward stance, always having to pay 1 for this stupid 3/4 that like isn't really getting you there. I have pretty
similar takes on Millennium Falcon and the deck I played, so I get it.
I know that you have probably a different take than I do on Marauder, but I just
we'll get into that.
Yeah, I think it's a little different, but Marauder's hard to find spots for unless I'm actually the beat down that you can just slam it. But I think overall, like I said, go with Bright Hope. It's a more impactful card right now for me. And then the sideboard
in your main deck? No, doesn't look like it.
No. I think the thing I wanted to do, I didn't verse any control decks all night, but I wanted to bring in the Spark of Hopes against control. I brought in the Mandalorian rifle. I got it off once. I just really wanted to like force myself to play that card.
You kind of have to. You're priced in.
Yeah, but
real bad.
Yeah, I think out of the sideboard, let's increase those Bright Hopes. Let's keep the confiscates just for insurance. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Would you keep this one off tech?
I would take
in the main.
I mean, it's not really demanding to have one
it's
slot.
It's a nice unit to just like have access to.
Yeah, I think I'd be more interested in just lowering my curve overall, like less home ones, because Mandalorian kind of wants you. It's awkward because Mandalorian wants you to play more like a tempo-y, not very control, not super grindy, but more aggressive. I mean, if you want to play some of the best cards, like I think Blaster is amazing with this deck. But the problem is he flips on 6, so it's like really hard to take advantage of that tempo strategy and close
the stat lines for Mando is also really awkward all the time. The 4 health makes it really weird when it's the beginning because like we've seen a lot of 3/5s and above, so you're not really getting that much. And then the 6 health is cool, but again, it's like on 6 you're starting getting those 7 health guys, and you're just like, things are not lining the way they should line as easily to like use those equipments a lot of times.
For like the tapping stuff.
Yeah, to use his hero power, which is what you want to do with them.
Yeah.
We want.
Did you consider any other color combinations when you were building your Mando deck? Were you always going to play green yellow?
mostly was probably always going to play green yellow. I think the only other consideration is blue. Which I've seen a lot of good lists. I've built a few. Shout out to KTOD Maddie. He has a great list. But I don't think that's what I'm wearing it to do.
Maddie.
Like I said, like it's hard to play tempo, especially in that color with him, and without like losing the initiative. Yeah. It's also like it kind of makes you want to play a little more control-y, which I don't like that for him either.
Yeah, doesn't really lean into what he does well.
Yeah, I like the equipment's better though. Like the Mandalorian's armor and stuff like that, and like you still get to play Blaster because it's a yellow smuggle, which is insane still.
Yeah, I wanted all my I wanted the bounties to just have extra text on them and to like get. I think that I'm onto something with like Cobb Vanth plus like Bounty Hunter Corey and like these, but
I mean the with Leia that's pretty sick. Like getting Leia off of it is pretty sick because then like
maybe you can lean into a more tempo strategy with more Leias and less Millennium Falcons. So
yeah,
especially because that also goes with the Ezra as well.
I would just put the home ones in the sideboard, take out Spark of Hope, because I did not play against any control decks, but I'm sure I would have liked to bring him in if I did versus a control deck.
Yeah,
cool. Last deck. Color scheme looks pretty familiar.
Yeah, very very similar deck to what Austin played on that Friday. I did get very lucky and rolled Hunter as my leader. So immediately I wanted to draw as many cards as possible with my deck. So I filled basically, I think all of my units I put in my deck, other than the one Syndicate Lackeys, is a unique unit. So I kind of wanted to have a game plan where I put either a Greedo and R2 or Leia in play on turn 1, and would ideally like to have a duplicate copy of any of those in my hand so I can, activate it. Have as many chances to activate it on Hunter on turn 1 to draw an extra card and start snowballing the value. I kind of compensated for that with some of the hotshot blasters to make my units a little bit more impactful. But I wanted to build my deck more like a control deck, like a green-yellow control deck, to kind of be able to outgrind some of the other strategies and favorably interact with a lot of the weaker stuff. So I was pretty happy with how the deck turned out. I thought it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Some of the
you did enjoy it a lot.
I did. It was pretty fun. The Spark of Hopes were better than I thought they would be. They worked really well with Hunter's ability to like reveal a thing. There was a game I played against Bosk where I got to like loop some Bright Hopes with Spark. So he'd like kill it. I'd get to spark it back, play another one, flip up one for my resource zone, keep them going for a couple turns. It felt pretty good. I had 5 total Millennium Falcons in my deck, which I think going forward I wouldn't play any of them. And then just the Ewing reinforcements and Han Solos to go over the top really helps grind them out. I don't know. I was
about to ask you, what the new Millennium Falcon? What didn't you like about
it? It felt too redundant, and I when I played it, I would want to play it from the Smuggle Zone, so didn't really have a ton of value. The extra names is nice for copies of Hunter, but I don't think Millennium Falcon's really where you want to be at. You're already spending a mana or a resource every turn on using Hunter's ability, and you kind of want to like commit multiple guys to the field. I did feel like I was light on a little bit of interaction. So, I mean, I had Marauders and the Bright Hopes, but that was pretty much it, other than the Syndicate Lackeys and Han Solos for battling back. But I thought the control matchup was pretty reasonable. Got Tech DJ going on. Home 1 was an all-star. Had some pretty good games with that. Just like happenstance smuggles are nice from the L3 and the gun. So, I don't know. I thought it was pretty fun. Gun good. Akbars were probably the all-star sideboard card. Thought that card was great in this deck. You have a lot of random dinky little units laying around that aren't always dead when they're rumbling with some of the aggressive decks, but kind of wanted a little bit more interaction. So, I like.
Also, fun observation. We all played the same colors. Base colors.
Yeah, we were all green, yellow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Do you want to move on to your?
But some changes I would make if you want to pop over the other screen. I went through and I updated it after I played it on that Friday, which I was kind of trying to figure out how to shore up some of the issues. If I was going to play this deck again, I would play some Gamorrean guards in the main. Not worried about, or I guess I'm pretty worried about having a big Sentinel unit. I was looking through the whole list of all the cards for some yellow Sentinels that made sense. Chewbacca seemed like it would be one that would help. And I boarded in the Bright Hope almost every matchup. Just it's your like over the top card that once you're stabilizing with Han and U-wing reinforcements, you kind of just want to take over and end the game. So it was pretty good. I liked the deck a lot. I'd probably play it again actually. So
these colors really have the most fun like synergy interaction, like value town plays. Like getting to play all those cards in your deck is pretty exciting. Like
I added Spare the Targets is the other interactive card I added. I definitely wanted some actual like bounce spells and stuff like that helped.
Would you consider playing Waylay over that? I recently realized that you can't target your own units.
Your own guys.
Yeah.
Probably not. I think I'm more interested in random upside, and none of these.
You already have Bright Hope to target your own guy.
Yeah,
you just want the random bounty upside you'd rather have.
One of the cool things about the deck that I observed was weird tensions between Spark of Hope and the Hunter ability. So it was like sometimes it was kind of a game where I'd have two Greedos floating. Like I'd either have one in play, one in my resource zone, and then like turn 2, it would, and sometimes turns 2 and turns 3, it'd be interesting choices on whether or not I wanted to actually resource the Greedo or the R2 or Leia, whatever one it was, with Spark of Hope in your hand. So if you trade your guy into their guy or they trade it into you, the ability to bring your unit back with Spark of Hope and then replay a fresh one to rebuy the one that died, or you can play just like the standard resource, the duplicate copy, bounce it with Hunter. It was kind of an interesting tension that it was like a little bit of a game. It was fun.
I mean, you play the game differently than you would play other decks where like normally you would just resource your second copy of a card, but sometimes you have to make sure you play one first.
Yeah. Yeah, the Spark's like a nice little regrowth type effect to make sure that you keep that chain going. It was fun. I liked it a lot.
Cool. I mean, your deck definitely looks like the most fun. Also, none of us really mentioned our leaders flip turns that much, but I think yours was the most exciting.
Oh yeah, dude, the flip of Hunter, he's huge. If you put a Hot Shot Blaster on him, he does a lot of damage, and it helps close out the game pretty quick. It's kind of hard for a bunch of the leaders that already flip to kill him. He's huge. It was nuts. I thought it wasn't that bad. It was a fun deck to play at a locals.
Cool.
The Bright Hope really helps also with because in our matchup I beat you down in space a lot, so that really helps with that matchup because you were like how Kira is, where she's really weak to space, so this at least gives you some more space viability.
Yeah, I like the Marauders too. They synergize with Hunter's ability. They're probably a lot better in my deck than they were in Austin's, with just getting to rebuy a Bright Hope that got traded into as a resource, and if you have a second copy, you can flip them up. So I don't know. It seemed pretty solid. Trading into their guys is good with that. And you actually kind of care about having a removal spell for space units in this because you don't really have any other good options. So
I wonder what we're playing this week at our local
shop. Let's find out. I want any leader except for Bo-Katan. I'll accept Hera. I have a bit of a soft spot for Hera. So
first deck he's ever built was a Hera deck.
That was the first deck in Star Wars one that I built. Thought it'd be fun. I was wrong.
All right. Since I started last time, let's start with Austin.
Well, you did the best, so you have to get spun last. So Austin is first
because he's the worst.
Sure, just spin it. Let's go.
Oh,
Oh, brutal.
Like briefly, I saw Boba Fett, and I was like, "All right, let's go."
Let's go.
Oh no, I'll play Boba Fett. Oh.
Cool. It looks like we're having a block party this Friday.
There
Block
we go.
party. All right, and now Bobby gets to spin.
Let's see.
Please, if there is a god.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll build him off Gideon deck. All right.
Man, I wanted.
That's the one I wanted. I've been
I
working
got
on Gideon a bit, so
I don't know how to play.
he's awesome.
All right, just not Bo-Katan as well. I don't.
Wait,
Also
can we
want
remove the other options when you spawn?
Yeah.
Is this an Aster?
Yeah,
Okay.
Fucking God.
Let's go.
No.
Oh, I'm so
This is
glad
what
I'm not you right
happens.
now. Oh, that's huge.
All right, so who do we think takes it? Who do we think has
Anthony's
the?
gonna be third for sure among us. There's no way he's squeaking out better than a 2 and
You'll
2
see.
record on
You'll
Friday.
see.
You're just gonna play Bo-Katan Red, which I feel like, you know.
I don't know. I might play
Sorry, yeah.
Bo-Katan Blue Red.
Any initial thoughts for your deck, Austin?
I don't know. I think red is. I think red is where I started looking at that leader at the beginning of the set, but yellow's good.
Yeah. I'll probably do some ECLing, do a little bit of command action.
Yes,
I'm not
it's
sure.
great. It's
We'll
really
see.
good.
Really?
Maybe I'll build a blue deck. I don't know. I'll just not have any top end. It'll be sweet. But you know I'm gonna come with a loose yellow deck. I don't know what I'm even trying to do.
We're all gonna play yellow again. Cool.
I know. I
who's this
was thinking
guy?
about this. Maybe I play Bo-Katan with just yellow
Well,
and go
the
super
problem is
aggro.
it's just the best base you can play is chopper base. So
Yeah.
It's so true. It's the
based
base.
as heck.
All right. Looking forward to seeing you guys' decks on Friday.
God.
Good luck,
I think that
soldiers.
just about wraps us up for this one, and see you all next time.
Yep. Thanks for watching.
I have to think how to make this deck. God.
Later.